Hello, I'm Benjamin. Let me tell you about a rough patch I've been going through. It all started on a Thursday when I was sitting at the table, staring at my Miller Lite bottle. I decided to stick with just a six-pack, not wanting to get too drunk in case things went south. When the music upstairs finally stopped, I knew my wife was almost ready. Usually, I work late on Thursdays because of my wife's bachelorette parties with her friends. My parents would take care of our daughter, Cameron, while my wife enjoyed drinking with her coworkers. I'd stay late at the office, wrapping up paperwork so I could leave early on Fridays for family time. It all seemed perfectly orchestrated. I made time on my busy schedule, my parents showered attention on their granddaughter, and my wife cherished her nights out. At least that's what I thought. I thought about needing to stop by the store more often, or maybe get delivery for those great sandwiches. Sitting there, keeping an eye on the door, I soon saw a familiar face enter the restaurant. Watching her look around, I stood up and waved. She noticed me and walked over. Marissa was 31. She's a friend of my wife's. I liked her, noting she was married. She had a way of calming tensions without being a pushover. I had to admit, with her dark wavy hair and fair skin, Marissa looked good. While she wasn't well endowed, she had a beautiful face and long legs. Her husband, Daniel, thought she was a gift from heaven, and the feeling was mutual. As she sat across from me, she thanked me for meeting her. "I know how busy you are, Benjamin. I appreciate you taking the time," she said, looking me in the eyes. "No problem, Marissa," I replied. "Though I must say, meeting you here without Evelyn feels a bit strange. I usually prefer having dinner with my wife, but since this is about Evelyn, I'm listening. I assume you're planning a surprise for her birthday next month?" I didn't expect the sadness in Marissa's eyes at the mention of our lunch or Evelyn's birthday. "What's wrong?" I asked. "I know you and Evelyn love each other deeply. I've seen it myself. That's why I'm here. It might hurt our friendship, but if it helps save your marriage, I'm willing to do it. There's no easy way to say this, but Evelyn has been seeing someone for 2 months now," Marissa revealed. I was shocked. "This has to be a joke, a really bad one," I said to Marissa. "I'm really sorry, Benjamin, but it's not a joke. About 3 months ago, after you started this big project, Evelyn got depressed. She's been irritable at work, and when we go out, she seems more bored than usual. After a few martinis, we got her to open up about missing you and feeling neglected. She also mentioned feeling like you two were just another middle-aged married couple letting life pass you by." Just then, the waiter came to take Marissa's order. She chose a Cobb salad and lemon iced tea. My mind was racing with thoughts of my wife's secrecy. In our 8 years together, I was sure my wife would tell me if she was unhappy. I believed we were always honest about our feelings, even when we disagreed. Turning to Marissa, I urgently whispered, "Did she sleep with him?" "No, at least not that I know of. And from what I know of her, your wife is usually pretty open." "That's why I'm surprised by her behavior," Marissa responded. "Benjamin, you need to know something. Every woman I've talked to says the same thing. I guess you both often complain about being overwhelmed by everyday life or something like that," Marissa continued. "When Evelyn brought it up, we all sympathized with her and told her she's a beautiful woman and you should pay more attention to her. Unfortunately, my sister was there that night." "What does your sister have to do with this?" I asked, managing to keep some anger in check. "Honestly, my sister is promiscuous," Marissa replied. The waiter, who brought her tea, raised an eyebrow at her comment. Marissa took a sip and continued. "My parents were both cheaters. I don't know who cheated first, but they always wanted revenge on each other. When I was 17, I asked them why they were still together, and they acted like I was from another planet. They said they loved each other, and that's all that mattered. This affected my sister and me differently. I realized cheating ruins relationships, but my sister thought it was okay as long as you love each other. I love her, but she's misguided. Anyway, back to the point. My sister, Lorraine, suggested that if Evelyn doesn't find romance at home, she should look elsewhere. I told her she was wrong, but then Isabella and Penelope started talking about finding better partners and keeping things secret. I think for them, it was just a theoretical discussion, especially since they're not married. Evelyn said she'd never cheat on you, but I think my sister's words planted doubts in her mind." "Why do you think that?" I asked, now unsure about Evelyn's fidelity. I began to absorb more information. None of this was easy to hear, but I always believed that knowledge was power. Marissa answered. The following week, Max Donovan and his team joined us at the Red Horse Bar. Evelyn claimed she didn't invite him, but mentioned our group dance plans to him. It's usually fun when more people try something new, but not with Max around. Tell me about this guy, Max, I demanded. Marissa noted my assertive tone with a slight smile and proceeded. Max Donovan is known for chasing women. He goes after every woman who shows interest, not caring if she's married or not, or particularly attractive. He just loves the chase. Your wife caught his eye from the start, but until that night, he hadn't pursued her. Now he's after her, and instead of standing up to him, she's avoiding him. Everyone knows that if Max faces another sexual harassment charge, he'll be fired. She could stop his advances, but she doesn't. They've been seen talking in the cafeteria a lot over the past few months. I tried to talk to her about it, but she got defensive, insisting they're just friends and that Max listens to her and understands her problems. I asked her if she'd act the same way if I were around, and she blushed, admitting she wouldn't. Then she got upset, mentioning something about me not noticing her. After that, I backed off but kept an eye on her. Things seemed to settle down at work, and I thought everything was back to normal until that incident 3 weeks ago. As Marissa's order arrived, she began to eat while I sipped my lemonade, my mind elsewhere. I wondered how Evelyn could think I'd be upset about her flirting with another man. I wasn't overly jealous. I loved and trusted my wife. As for not noticing her, I pondered if I had become too absorbed in my work project. There's a significant reward waiting for me at the end, but perhaps I've been pushing too hard. Curiosity about the incident 3 weeks ago nagged at me. Did I really want to know? For the next 5 minutes, we ate in silence as I processed Marissa's revelations. Undoubtedly, I was angry. Evelyn had no justification for being so close with another man, yet I could almost understand her logic. If I had been more attentive, perhaps none of this would have happened. By not informing me of her flirtatious behavior, she was essentially lying to me. It was a lie of omission, but for now, I could overlook her actions and focus on fixing the situation. I would speak to her and share my concerns. If she was honest and agreed to distance herself from Max, we could move forward. So far, I hadn't seen any lasting damage, unless, of course, something significant occurred within the last 3 weeks. Tell me what happened 3 weeks ago. How bad was it? I asked. With this inquiry, I found some solid mental ground beneath me. I felt I could handle it. Marissa looked at me sympathetically. This is where it gets ugly, Benjamin. 3 weeks ago, we were back at the Red Horse Bar to dance. Max and his friends arrived, and we all danced together, having a good time. Evelyn had been drinking more than usual, with Max buying drinks for her all evening, which made her quite intoxicated. I accompanied her to the restroom and realized she was even more drunk than I initially thought. When we came out, she was holding her underwear in her hand, saying she wanted to feel liberated. Well, she was nearly plastered. I chalked her behavior up to the booze and helped her back to our table. I tried to persuade Isabella and Penelope to help me take Evelyn to my house so she wouldn't go home completely wasted. But then I saw Evelyn and Max getting too close, bumping into each other and simulating sex on the dance floor. After the group dancing ended, the rest of the evening felt like background noise. I saw Evelyn put her underwear in Max's pocket at the end of a song. Everyone in the bar saw it too, and there were whistles all around as Max grinned and gave her a deep kiss. One of his friends recorded the whole thing on a phone. I hoped Evelyn would resist, but she didn't. When she saw my reaction, she apologized, saying she was sorry. My jaw dropped, and I had to leave. I stuttered as I stood up and walked away, locking myself in the bathroom. I splashed water on my face and gripped the sink tightly. I remembered the night Evelyn came home late, around 2:30 a.m., after Marissa called to say she'd be staying with her due to excessive drinking. This had happened several times before, and I was always grateful that Marissa and the girls made sure Evelyn didn't get a DUI. I recalled the passionate lovemaking we shared that night, sensing something different in her behavior. Returning to the present, I was overcome with rage, feeling betrayed by her arousal for another man and seemingly prepared for a confrontation upon returning home. Damn, I thought. What if she was thinking about him while we were together? After composing myself, I returned to the table, noticing the sympathy on Marissa's face, but unsure how to respond. My sandwich remained untouched as I asked Marissa for more information. "Honestly, Benjamin, that's about it," she replied. "The recent bachelorette parties were held at Isabella's house with wine and a lingerie show. At work, Evelyn seems distant with Max, although he continues to pursue her. I thought it was over, but just yesterday I saw them talking. They stopped when I approached, so I'm not sure what's going on. I felt you needed to know, since she no longer listens to her friends," Marissa explained. As the waiter brought the bill, I quickly grabbed it and searched for my credit card. "I'd like to observe their interaction and perhaps intimidate them right off the bat," I suggested. "Evelyn mentioned you ladies are going to the Red Horse Bar this week, so this Thursday when you go there, I'll show up and monitor them from the sidelines." I abruptly paused, noticing the apprehensive expression on Marissa's face. "What did I say wrong?" I inquired. "Benjamin, Isabella has a doctor's appointment early Friday morning, and Penelope is visiting her brother in Florida. If Evelyn goes out on Thursday, it won't be with us," Marissa explained, reaching across the table to grasp my hand. "I'm so sorry, darling," she expressed sorrowfully. "I know it's better not to ask if you're okay, but here's my home phone number. Call anytime to talk to Daniel or me." Her husband was a marriage counselor, so talking to him might prove beneficial. "Thank you for informing me, Marissa. I understand this must be challenging for you, but I genuinely believe you're a good person and a good friend. I'm uncertain of what lies ahead, but I'm aware of the present circumstances, and I can take some measures. Thanks again." I expressed my gratitude, rose from the table, settled the credit card bill, and departed. On Wednesday, today marked a breakthrough in the project I was engaged in. We managed to secure a supply of finished parts from a startup company in Harrisburg, reducing setup time by 2 months, ensuring at least a week's supply despite unstable transport logistics. With 2 more phone calls, this plan would be completed 2 months ahead of schedule, saving millions for the military. The cash bonus would also be substantial, as I anticipated, and the project's recognition would significantly elevate my reputation. I should have been as content as a cat with a belly full of cream, but instead, I dreaded going home and facing what I knew I had to address. I decided I needed to look into this myself. While I didn't have access to her work email, I doubted they'd risk using it, considering HR's oversight. I logged into her Yahoo email account, but found nothing incriminating. She might have a separate account, which I'd need our home computer to check. I knew I wasn't tech-savvy enough to pull off any high-tech surveillance, like installing security cameras or voice-activated microphones, but I had a simpler plan. My goal was to gather enough information to decide whether I should try to salvage or end our marriage. Evelyn had already picked up Cameron from my parents and asked me to bring home Chinese food. When I asked what she wanted, she replied that after 10 years together, I should know she loves Kung Pao chicken. I couldn't help being sarcastic, saying I just wanted to make sure she was still happy with our arrangement. My phone rang immediately after, and she asked for an extra egg roll. Normally, I'd have been thrilled to get home early and spend time with my family, but today was different. Glancing at the clock, I realized I hadn't been home this early on a Friday since the project started. I understood how Evelyn might feel neglected, but it didn't excuse her actions. As I walked through the front door, I saw Evelyn reaching for a bottle of wine. I paused, admiring her figure. At 31, she was in her prime, standing at 5 feet tall with curves that were undeniably alluring. Even in loose sweatpants, her shapely rear was evident. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail, and she turned around, flashing me a radiant smile that made me remember how lucky I was to have her. Then reality hit me. "I'm so happy you're home, honey. How was work?" she asked, planting a kiss on my lips. "Pretty good. We made a major breakthrough on some supplies, so we might finish the project at least a month ahead of schedule. Sweetheart, I know I've been away from home a lot because of this project. It sucks that I can't share the details because it's classified, but I want you to know that you and Cameron are my top priority. I'll do everything to keep us safe," I assured her, gazing into her eyes. Did I see a hint of remorse or guilt, or was I imagining things? "I understand, darling. We both adore you and know this is temporary. Still, I'm glad you acknowledged it," she said, seeming on the verge of tears. Was she genuinely emotional, or just a skilled actress? "So, What does the project's early completion mean for you? She asked, unpacking the food containers. Well, firstly, it means a substantial bonus. The exact amount is unknown until the project is approved, but it's significant. Moreover, successfully completing our first government project should attract more work to the company. As the project leader, there may be lucrative opportunities with government contractors seeking my expertise. The higher-ups are aware of this. I might negotiate some additional perks. If all goes smoothly, it should be quite rewarding, I explained, attempting to eat my sweet and sour pork with chopsticks before opting for a fork. Didn't I mention this before? I asked between bites. Not that I recall, darling. All I remember is you mentioning a significant contract you couldn't discuss, but it sounded promising. And since then, it seems like we haven't had much conversation, she remarked, looking a bit downcast before perking up. But it looks like my husband will be back soon, she added with a brighter tone. I glanced at her. Time to go fishing. So, what bar are you ladies heading to tomorrow night? Should I swing by after work to make sure you're all okay to drive home? I asked, aiming for a casual tone. Oh, actually, we decided to go to the Red Horse Bar for some group dancing. But I think we'll be done before you finish work, she replied, her gaze shifting to her orange chicken. My heart sank at that moment. Cameron finished her egg roll and asked for bedtime stories. I cleared my plate and rinsed it in the sink before lifting my daughter and carrying her into the living room. For the next hour, I read story after story until she drifted off to sleep. A soft snore emanated from the sofa where Evelyn was curled up with her book abandoned in her lap. I picked up Cameron, carried her upstairs to her bedroom, and tucked her in. As I thought about the days ahead, tears welled in my eyes. I wanted Cameron to remember these pleasant evenings with her parents rather than the tough times looming ahead. Wiping away my tears, I went back downstairs. Evelyn was still asleep on the sofa. I kissed her softly and pulled a blanket over her to keep her warm. Then I set out to find her phone. I found it plugged into a wall socket on the nightstand in our bedroom. Unlocking it with a swipe, I began scrolling through her text messages. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for. Scrolling back, I traced their exchanges over the past 3 months. Hey beautiful, it was fun watching you and the girls dance last night. Her. Likewise. Benjamin works late on Thursdays, and the in-laws watch Cameron. The more I read, the more my heart sank. It was as if the words themselves were daggers, each one cutting deeper than the last. Her. So we had a girls' night out. Your husband seems like a good guy, letting you have some fun. Her. Yes, he's amazing. Those early messages seemed so innocent, but then I stumbled upon something that made my blood run cold. Her. Vicky gave me a talking to today about our lunch breaks. I was annoyed, but she picked up on everything. Exactly, I don't want any misunderstandings. Her. She asked if Benjamin would approve of how we've been acting, which got me thinking. We might be giving off the wrong signals. Plus, I shouldn't be confiding all my issues to another guy. I'll try talking to Benjamin. I understand, but if you can't get his attention, you know where to find me. I'll even treat you to dinner if need be, just as friends. I couldn't remember Evelyn ever trying to have a serious conversation with me. Maybe it was during that chaotic time when I was engrossed in sourcing materials for the project. I was so buried in work that I could have missed anything. Until now, the messages seemed harmless, but it was clear this guy was making his move. How could Evelyn be so blind? I scrolled further and found more troubling messages. Her. You have to return them today. What are you referring to? Her. You know very well. My friends are furious with me right now, and I don't blame them. If Benjamin finds out I behaved like some sort of fancy woman, he might leave me. So you don't want me to show him the video? What video? No one at work can see this. Sam was there, and he captured a video on his phone. I'll ensure he deletes it, but you owe me. Her. Okay. I can't lose Benjamin, not after last night. What happened last night? Her. It's really none of your business. Was he upset that you came home late and intoxicated? Her. Very funny. Hell no. Let's just say something happened that turned everything upside down and leave it at that. So some dirty dancing with me made you toil for your husband's forgiveness. You should be thankful to me. Her. You're despicable. Last night was unforgettable because Benjamin and I love each other. Now give me back my underwear and ensure that damn video is erased. Damn, it sounded like I was some sort of fancy woman. Benjamin deserves better than me. No, he's fortunate to have you. He was keeping an eye on you, wasn't he? I'm sure he's a great guy, but you often go out alone. I don't need anyone to watch over me. Just be the friend you claim to be and handle what I've asked, please. Sorry, of course, I'll assist you. And afterward, I'll let you treat me to dinner. Just ensure no one sees this video and I'll do whatever you want. Nothing further until last Monday. I heard the bachelorette party is canceled. How about dinner with me? Not a good idea, sorry. Come on, your husband will be at work, and the girls left you alone one evening. With a friend, we can chat like we used to in the cafeteria. Besides, you owe me. Okay, I'll meet you at the Red Horse at 8. No, meet me at TGF located at the Sharon Hotel. They have great drinks, and I don't want to be bothered by drunk idiots. If we drink too much, I'll get a room. Okay, but it's just dinner with a couple of friends, and I'm grateful to you for ensuring the video never surfaced. It's bad enough that people at work have heard about this. Don't worry about it. I saw Sam delete the video, and soon someone else will do something scandalous, and you'll be fine. See you at 8. That's when it hit me. This was likely the end of my marriage. How often had I witnessed my wife going out for a date with another man at a hotel restaurant bar? How could this end well? How could she not see the closeness involved? Closing the messages, I reconnected her phone to the charger, undressed, and slipped into bed alone. Sleep eluded me for a long while. On Thursday, she came down the stairs wearing her little black dress, the one she always wore when we went out together. She looked stunning. Pausing at the bottom of the stairs, she spotted me sitting at the table. I didn't expect you to come home so early today, baby, she said, her tone faltering slightly. We need to talk, Evelyn, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. This is perhaps the most crucial conversation we'll ever have. Please, take a seat. She sat down, looking apprehensive, and reached out for my hand as usual, but I withdrew it. I know there won't be a bachelorette party today. I know you're seeing Max Donovan behind my back. I began. Benjamin, please let me explain, she pleaded, but I interrupted, slamming my fist on the table. Damn it, Evelyn, listen to me. I shouted. You can't speak until I've said my piece. She recoiled, tears welling in her eyes. I regarded her impassively and continued. As I said, I know you kissed that idiot at lunch. I know you danced with him at the Red Horse Bar. I know you took off your underwear and gave them to him after some provocative moves on the dance floor. I know the only reason you were all over me 3 weeks ago was because you were excited about him. I also know that tonight you're going on a date with him to a restaurant in the hotel where your boyfriend has already made a reservation. I just don't know if you've already slept with him, and I don't know what could stop you if you haven't. I paused, trying to rein in my anger. Evelyn, you lied to me by omission about Max. You lied to me about your risque dance, and you lied to me about going out with the girls. Frankly, I'm exhausted and my trust in you is shattered. I'm not even sure if I want to salvage this marriage yet. Your actions suggest that you're no longer invested in it. Therefore, I present you with 3 options. I raised a finger. Option 1, you walk out that door and go to your idiot of a boyfriend. Even if you don't sleep together tonight, this choice will end our marriage. There's no chance I want to salvage it. I raised a second finger. Option 2, we sit here all night and you try to persuade me to work on saving our marriage. It'll be incredibly challenging for you to convince me, as I'm not inclined to believe a single word from your mouth. However, maybe you'll succeed because I truly love you and we have a child to consider. I can tell you there's a 50% chance I'll be willing to try. I raised a third finger. Option 3, you take me with you tonight to confront your lover. In front of me, you demand that he never speaks to or contacts you again. Then you allow us to speak to him privately for at least 15 minutes, out of earshot. This option will earn you the most respect and maximize my willingness to work with you. If you didn't sleep with him or engage in any sexual activity, I promise I'll be 100% committed to making this relationship work. However, if you did, this is the only option that could potentially salvage our marriage. Evelyn looked like she was about to be sick, staring at me with a mix of fear and regret. Option 1, 2, or 3, Evelyn. Which will it be? The question hung in the air for what felt like an eternity as she fought to keep her composure. Benjamin, I'm so sorry about everything. I desperately need to talk to you. If we go see him, who will lead the conversation, you or me? Her response caught me off guard. I had expected her to choose sitting and talking, trying to justify her actions. Agreeing to confront him head-on earned her a few points, but she was still in deep trouble. I took the keys and followed her to the car. Out of habit, I opened the door for her, and she nearly broke down in tears. As I pulled out onto the road, she glanced at me, her voice barely audible. I really ruined everything for us, didn't I? Yes, Evelyn, you really did, I replied, focusing on the road ahead. What can I do to fix this? She asked, her voice shaking. I took a moment to gather my thoughts. First and foremost, complete honesty from now on. I shouldn't have to say this, but evidently, you think it's acceptable to omit things I should know or to lie repeatedly. You need to find a way to make me believe what you say. I don't know how you plan to do that, but I wasn't the one who broke our trust. Another thing, he's dead to you? If we stay together, you won't talk to him at work. You won't ask about his day. If he shows up at a bar you're at, you leave. If you can't leave, call me immediately. No drinks, no gifts, no communication whatsoever. Next, when we get home tonight, you'll tell me everything. I don't want to hear your thoughts about the project. I know I was consumed by it, and I'll take some responsibility. If you harbor any resentment toward me, let me know. Lastly, schedule marriage counseling. If you prefer to choose a counselor yourself, feel free. Maybe Daniel can recommend someone. Her phone chimed with a message, and she glanced down, paling even more. It's him, wondering where I am, she murmured. I reached out, and she handed me the phone without hesitation. I scrolled through her text messages. There were a couple from earlier today. Hey, I booked a room with a jacuzzi. Maybe we can relax after lunch. Bring your bikini. You can't get me drunk enough to take a hot bath with you. I won't bring the bikini. We'll see. You know what happens when you drink. Maybe you won't need a bikini. And then just now, where are you? While waiting for you, I had a glass of wine. I'm running a little late. I have a surprise for you. Oh, you brought your bikini. Perfect. I handed the phone back to her. She read the messages and hung her head. You know these messages don't help your case, right? Just today's messages make it look like you were planning to hook up with him tonight. How much worse will it look if I scroll further? I asked, knowing the answer. Do you consider your text messages today as inappropriate flirting? Can you grasp how these exchanges have shattered all my trust in you? I heard her sobbing next to me. Benjamin, I swear I only intended to have dinner tonight. I never planned to sleep with him. I couldn't help but scoff. Were you planning to give him your underwear after taking them off, like you did a few weeks ago? I didn't think she could get any paler, but she did. Evelyn, we're almost there. You might want to fix your makeup and think about what you're going to say to Max. Oh, and avoid drinking wine. She pulled down the visor and retrieved a napkin from the glove compartment. As she started to compose herself, she asked in a more composed tone, Benjamin, I understand why you think Max was toying with me. Listening to you, I see it now. But, Benjamin, how did I not see this? I know my recent decisions don't reflect it, but I'm not a naive little girl. I've fended off more attractive and sophisticated men than Max. So, why did he target me? That's one of the reasons why I find it hard to believe you now, Evelyn. You're a beautiful, intelligent woman who should see through this nonsense. That's why I wonder, did you go along with it willingly? Imagine if I picked up some woman at a bar and lied to you that I was going to dinner with her tonight. No wonder you're so angry and hurt, she said, her color returning and her voice growing firmer. Okay, I messed up, and now I have to find a way to fix it. Thank you for giving me a chance. She leaned in to kiss me, but I turned my head at the last moment, allowing her to peck me on the cheek. I'm not over this, not by a long shot, I said. She looked at me, almost shocked. We usually showed a lot of affection. Hopefully we can get back to that. What should I tell him? She asked as we pulled into the restaurant parking lot. Finding a spot, I turned off the engine and let my anger simmer. What do I want you to tell him, Evelyn? Our relationship is barely hanging on because of your actions with that idiot. You two have shattered the core of our marriage. Our daughter could end up spending Thanksgiving with you and Christmas with me. I want to make this clear, so tell him whatever you want." She sat quietly for a moment, then sighed and opened the car door. As we approached the restaurant in the hotel, she hesitated, reaching for my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't welcome her touch either. We entered, and a red-haired hostess greeted us, asking if we were a party of two. Before I could respond, Evelyn interjected, stating that we were meeting someone already here. The hostess nodded and suggested we look around. Not knowing who we were looking for, I relied on Evelyn to lead us. She nudged me and pointed towards the back of the restaurant where a man sat near the hotel door, engrossed in his phone. With determined steps, Evelyn walked towards the table and stopped without sitting down. The man looked up, saw her, and smiled broadly. His smile faded quickly when he noticed me standing behind her. "Max, this is my husband, Benjamin Montgomery. He's concerned about our relationship, and after talking with him, I have to agree. For the first time in our marriage, I've given him reason to doubt my fidelity. I'll work hard to repair the breach of trust caused by my relationship with you. From now on, I want nothing to do with you. There's no reason for you to call, text, or otherwise communicate with me. I accept responsibility for letting things go this far, and now I'm ending it. My husband knows about my actions at the Red Horse Bar, and I'm committed to fixing things with him. Tomorrow, I'll inform HR of the situation and let them know that any attempt to engage me in non-work-related conversation will be unwelcome. Now, I'll sit at the bar while my husband talks to you." She turned to leave, but before she did, she kissed me and whispered, "I'm truly sorry." I watched her walk to the bar and felt a mixture of relief and anger. I sat down across from Max, sizing him up. Dark hair, slender build, impeccably dressed. He might be considered attractive, but I've never been good at judging men. He was probably my height, though it was hard to tell while he was seated. His lingering gaze on the glass of wine in front of him confirmed my suspicions. It was time to stay composed and handle this problem directly. "So, you thought it'd be a surprise to find her in a bikini?" I said with a half-smile. "Do you really believe she told you everything?" He responded with a smirk. Now that he was in front of me, I felt a sense of control. "Actually, yes. I've known Evelyn for 10 years and been married to her for 8. I believe I understand her better than some guy who's been pursuing her for 3 months. I kept my smile as the waiter approached and asked for my drink order. I requested a double Johnny Walker Black with ice. "She certainly knows how to please a man," Max remarked, trying to maintain his grin as he glanced at the glass of wine he had ordered for her. "Yes, that's true," I said, grinning broadly. "But I don't think you're speaking from experience." "Need photographs?" he joked, laughing. He was trying to provoke me, but I laughed instead. "You don't have photographs. If she had gone that far with you, you wouldn't need to slip something in her drink. What are wannabe rapists using these days? GHB? Rohypnol?" It was a guess, but his shocked expression confirmed my suspicions. He flinched as I leaned across the table towards him, my fury barely contained. "You despicable coward. I should beat you right here and now, but I don't want to end up in jail. I gave my wife 3 options, and now I'm giving you 3 options." I jabbed my finger under his nose. "First, you leave right now. You'll go and apologize to my wife, and tomorrow you'll resign from your job. I promise not to pursue you. Then you'll leave the city." I raised another finger. "Second, you go to the police and confess to slipping something into my wife's drink. Serve your sentence and stay away from her. I'll keep an eye on you, but I won't come after you. Then you'll leave the city." I raised a third finger. "Third, we sign up for boxing classes. In 4 weeks, you and I will step into the ring, sign injury waivers, and neither of us will leave until one of us passes out. And when you wake up, you still leave my wife alone. Then you'll leave the city." The waiter brought my scotch just as I finished. I took a long sip, feeling the burn. "You must think I'm a fool. Why would I agree to any of these options?" he sneered. I gave him a menacing grin. "Because you don't want to spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Every time you walk to your car at night, you'll wonder if I or one of my friends is lurking, ready to break your legs and crush your manhood with a baseball bat. Every time you answer the door, you won't know if I or one of my pals will barge in, tie you up, and castrate you. Every time you go to a bar, you'll worry if I or one of my buddies will spike your drink and subject you to unspeakable acts. You won't risk it. You're a coward. Your wife claimed otherwise after I had my way with her last night. His face regained color. I took another sip of whiskey and activated the voice recorder on my phone, hoping to capture our conversation. I should have planned this better. You were planning to slip something into my wife's drink and assault her, you pervert. Are you willing to gamble a lifetime of agony on me not following through? It was time to reel him in. The stuff was just to get her in the mood for when my friends arrived. We were planning to have our way with her tonight. My composure vanished altogether. I grabbed him by the collar with my left hand and yanked him towards me. Despite the awkward angle, I managed to land a solid punch, feeling his nose crunch under my fist. He screamed, clutching his face, and threatened to call the cops. I laughed in his face, daring him to do it. I told him I'd love for the authorities to test the wine and listen to the tape of his confession. Within 10 minutes, the police arrived. Apparently, 2 officers were having lunch nearby. They took my statement and collected the wine and glass for analysis. When they searched Max, they found a packet of white powder. He immediately demanded a lawyer and refused to speak further. The officers listened to my recording and confiscated my phone as evidence. Though the recording was garbled, it was clear enough to hear Max discussing slipping something into a drink and a planned assault. It was almost 4 a.m. before Evelyn and I were allowed to leave the police station after giving our statements. One of the officers praised me for preventing an assault, and by the end of it, Evelyn was a mess. Max was held in police custody. Using her phone, we quickly informed my parents of the situation. They understood and promised to take care of Cameron, deciding to take her to the zoo for the day. As we pulled into the garage and turned off the car, we exchanged glances. Evelyn unbuckled her seatbelt and reached across the console to hug me tightly. I let her cry on my shoulder for a minute before gently pushing her back. Evelyn, we still need to talk, but it's late and we should get some rest. Tomorrow, we'll both go to work and spend the day together sorting things out. How does that sound? Yes, Benjamin. Getting into bed sounds wonderful, she responded softly. May I please sleep beside you? Of course, baby. The next morning, I woke up and pulled her closer, reflecting on the events of the previous night. I dared to hope things might turn out okay, but I knew we had a lot to discuss before making any decisions. My hand rested on her stomach, and she brought it up to her chest. A surge of emotion hit me, but I knew I needed to take things slow. Sitting up in bed, I playfully smacked her backside. Get up. Let's take a walk. I don't want to have a serious conversation on an empty stomach, I suggested. Eventually, we ended up showering together, which did little more than speed up our morning routine. Despite the temptation, I wasn't ready for intimacy until we resolved our issues. We enjoyed breakfast at the International House of Pancakes, chatting about Cameron and her upcoming day with my parents. We kept the conversation light and upbeat. After finishing our last cup of coffee, we settled the bill and returned home, sitting down at the kitchen table to face each other. Okay, I think I'll start, I began. You can see for yourself what kind of person Max is, so I won't dwell on that. He claimed you satisfied him and called me a teddy bear after sleeping with him a few days ago. Is that true? No, the worst encounter I had with him was that awful night at the Red Horse. I understand the gravity of my actions, but I never went further, she replied. How can I believe you? You lied about going on a date with him last night, and you lied and omitted details about that bar incident, not to mention your entire relationship with him. I expressed, feeling it was time to be transparent. I've been thinking about this, and I have a suggestion. What about a polygraph test? She asked. Do you mean a lie detector test? I clarified. She nodded. Yes, schedule one. Ask me anything you want. Just let me know the time and place. Her genuine expression was striking. I understand these tests aren't foolproof, but I'd feel much better if you went ahead and told the truth. I'll see what I can arrange. It might take some time to set up, but it's worth considering, I responded. Actually, it might take longer than expected, I added, smiling. That's a good starting point. We can revisit the extent of your involvement later, but my next question will likely be the toughest. It's what hurts me the most and has the biggest impact on our relationship. How do we move forward? The incident with the underwear embarrassed you, and I get that. I don't like it, but I understand. It's hard for me to deal with the fact that you got close to another guy without telling me. But if you thought it was just a platonic friendship, I can understand. What I can't understand, and what makes me want to walk away, is when you lied about seeing other girls when you were actually meeting him for dinner. That blatant lie broke my heart. There were tears in my eyes, but I felt powerless. Benjamin, all I can do is explain what I was thinking at the time. First, I want to say how sorry I am for lying to you about everything. When you took on that project for the first time since we've been together, I felt like I wasn't a priority. I'm not blaming you or your work. I understand why you took on the project and how important it was to you, she began, her voice trembling. But I need to tell you how I felt. I started feeling neglected and down. Then Marissa's sister said something that stuck with me. She suggested finding romance elsewhere. I never saw it as cheating. I just thought maybe while you were so busy, I could find what I needed somewhere else. Then Max came along, and without realizing it, he made me feel special. He asked about my day, my family, my interests. Our conversations were all about me. She sighed, watching my face as I tried to keep my emotions in check. When Marissa confronted me at lunch, I realized what I was doing. I was using Max to fill the void I felt you had left, but I still wanted to work things out with you. That night things got out of hand. I didn't invite him or his friends. They showed up before my other friends did. Max kept buying me drinks, and I ended up more intoxicated than ever before. I made terrible mistakes that night, but then we had an incredible night together, and it confused me even more. How could I act so recklessly with him, but then have such wonderful moments with you? She stood to pour herself a glass of water, drinking half before continuing. Then the video surfaced. I knew you'd be furious. Rightfully so. If you got drunk and kissed another woman, I'd be furious too. And I knew it would be worse, because after our passionate night, you'd wonder if I was thinking of someone else. So I made another mistake. I tried to involve Max to cover it up. He probably encouraged it, and I felt obligated to help him out. When my friends couldn't join me for dinner, he offered to take me. I was lonely and thought you wouldn't be home until late. In a moment of weakness, I made a terrible choice, and I'm truly sorry. Our relationship has always been built on trust, and I broke it. Tears streamed down her face, though she didn't sob. Oh my God, I said, standing to embrace her. I kissed her tenderly, then pulled back. We're not there yet, and it'll take time. But if you're fully committed, so am I. Evelyn and I attended counseling for some time. Discussing my issues helped me overcome them. The significant outcome for me was that, since communication has been a strength since our first encounter, we continue to work on it. Additionally, the counselor recommended Evelyn undergo testing for hormonal imbalances. At 31, it seemed premature, but it proved worthwhile. After several tests and a switch in birth control pills, she experienced improvement. Though we're not entirely back to where we were, we're in a better place. The polygraph test confirmed her honesty in all the challenging questions I posed. While I still have some doubts about the accuracy of these tests, I can accept it. I decided to enroll in boxing lessons, and Evelyn became intrigued by the self-defense classes offered there. Thursday nights turned into self-defense evenings for her. Evelyn suggested we join martial arts classes, where she excels and I struggle to keep up. Sparring has become our favorite form of foreplay. The project was completed 6 weeks ahead of schedule and under budget. My company now competes with major players in government contracts. Although they wanted to promote me to vice president, I declined due to the excessive travel requirements. Instead, I established and lead the special projects department. This came with a new office and a secretary assistant. My new assistant has a stunning figure and a dazzling smile, and she fulfills my needs perfectly. Thus far, there haven't been any complaints about my wife and me working together. As long as we bring in revenue, I doubt anyone will raise objections. Most of the $388,000 bonus from my initial project went towards Cameron's college fund. However, I had saved enough for a week-long, all-inclusive resort vacation with my wife. My parents are prepared to take care of Cameron while we're gone. I did receive an assault charge for punching Max. Despite this, it's the most fulfilling $300 and 40 hours of community service I've ever completed. Max will serve 3 to 5 years for attempted assault and possession of a controlled substance. Additionally, he was assaulted while walking to his car one evening. not by me, but by one of his previous victim's brothers. The assailant will serve 2 to 3 years for the attack. I deposit $50 monthly into Max's prison commissary account.